Hi everyone, welcome. Lovely to see so many of you. So obviously an opportunity today, this really is around how to make sure you're fully prepared for your EPA. We've got some really good tips in there for you, and we just want to give you a real good overview of what to expect as you go through your endpoint assessment journey as well. So we do some introductions first of all. So I'm Helen. So I head up the operations for FuturU. So I work very closely with a lot of your training providers to make sure that they have all the information that they need to support you as you enter endpoint assessment, and really to make sure that that journey is successful for them and for yourselves as well. So you may not deal with me directly, but I certainly deal with a lot of your assessors and the main training provider. Nia?
Hi, so I'm Nia and I'm the EPA coordinator at FuturU. So if you've ever got any questions or anything with regards to your endpoint assessment or any upcoming bookings, I'm probably the person that you'll get in contact with. So I kind of deal with the day-to-day, making sure the assessments are running smoothly, here to answer any queries from yourselves as learners or our providers. So yeah, that's me really.
Elaine?
Hi everybody, so I'm Elaine, I'm one of the lead IQAs here at FuturU. I tend to get involved around the maintaining of the quality of the qualifications that you complete within the endpoint assessment. I work closely with the IQA team to ensure that everything goes smoothly for the qualifications and that we're fully prepared with all the materials you need to obviously undertake your endpoint assessment. When you finish, obviously, your endpoint assessment, it is quality assured at that stage, and that's where the IQAs and myself will check, obviously, the assessments that you've completed, and then hopefully release certification.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Alex. So just in terms of what we're going to cover today, just so you know, and obviously, as Alex said, any questions that you have, feel free to pop in the chat and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So we'll take you through sort of the journey of your EPA, what to expect from the point of us receiving the documentation from your training provider, what to expect on the day of your assessment, how to prepare for your EPA, how to calm your nerves, and there's some tips in terms of really kind of how to excel as best you can within your assessment as well. We've put together some frequently asked questions that may cover some of the questions that you have, but as I mentioned, we'll also have a separate Q&A thereafter as well. So just as a bit of an overview, so you kind of know what to expect and what happens at what stage. So the first part of us getting involved is when we receive what's called gateway from your training provider. So that is all the documentation that we need that you would have put together with your assessors and your training provider at different stages, and particularly as you're heading towards EPA. So we will receive that. We'll make sure that that covers everything that we need, and we will get that gateway completed. At the point of that gateway getting completed, you will receive an invitation to book your assessment. So that will come via an email, and there will be links that are specific to the particular assessments that you're undertaking. And then after that, you'll get confirmation. So as soon as you've made your bookings, you will get confirmations. A couple of things probably to add in here as housekeeping of things that we crop up for us. So particularly with the level 2s and 3s, for any of you that are on here, you'll have two components, one being a multiple choice test, and the second being a professional discussion. Just to make you aware, the SJT, so the multiple choice test, does need to happen before discussion. You can book both at the same time of booking, but the dates and time of the SJT does need to be prior to the professional discussion. So you'll get your date confirmed, and then obviously at the same time we will be sending you any resources that are relevant to you doing some revision prior to the assessment as well. So you'll have links that are sent to certain areas to practice the situational judgment test, for example. You'll also receive, some of you, a link to access the assessment plan as well. So all of that will be aiding your revision that you're already doing with your assessor as well. And then on the day or just prior, you'll get a call from our assessor that will be delivering your assessment. Now that's an opportunity for them to make introductions with yourself, It's an opportunity for you to answer and ask any questions that maybe have just popped up, you know, in the process. And also to just make sure that your devices are working properly, you've got all the links that you need, and then that you're ready to go ahead. So do expect that call. It will come from a mobile number, so it will be a number that you don't recognise, but it will happen, like I said, the day before or the day of the assessment. You will join the assessment remotely, and it will be via Google Meet, which is what you have joined now. So you'll get sent the link, and you will access it exactly as you have done today. You'll go through your assessment components, and then any of the grading that happens thereafter and your results will go directly to your training provider, and that is for them to have discussions with you around your grades, give you any feedback that you need, and then we will then move into the next stage, which is obviously certification thereafter. Nia?
Yeah, so as Helen mentioned, if you are completing the level 2 and 3 standards in care, we do give you access to our learning platform as soon as your gateway's been approved. So that'll be sent over in an email, and you'll have all the login details so that you can access the practice tests. You can do them as many or as little times as you'd like. There's no limit, but obviously it will help in preparing for that element of your endpoint assessment. Another thing we would recommend in order to prepare for your endpoint assessment is to just check in with your training provider. So your assessor probably would have completed some mock assessments with you prior to you coming into Gateway, but they are still there to support you if you do need it. So if there's anything you're unsure of or you feel like you would benefit from an extra support session, they are obviously still there to support you. And if you do have any questions, you can always come to us as well, and we can liaise with them directly if you are struggling to contact them, and we can make sure that you've got the support you need ahead of your endpoint assessment date. We would also recommend reviewing the assessment plan for your standard. It can include some helpful information, and it does also include the criteria that you'll be assessed against, especially for the level 4 and 5 adult social care assessments. So it's very detailed, and it will give you the knowledge of what you're going to be assessed against before you enter the assessment. That's definitely a really helpful revision tool. And then for some elements across all standards, you are also allowed to have notes with you. There are limitations to the notes, and your assessor should hopefully make you aware of which assessments you are allowed to bring notes into. So we would definitely recommend using notes if you are allowed, just to obviously help and prompt you throughout your assessment. But again, if you are unclear on what notes you are allowed to bring, feel free to contact us directly and we can explain, or your assessor will be able to help as well. So on the day of your assessment, as Helen mentioned, the assessor will give you a phone call to introduce themselves and kind of talk you through everything and how the session's going to run. That's kind of like an introductory call, which will hopefully help put your mind at ease. All of our assessors are there to support you throughout your assessment and want you to do as well as you can. So please don't feel intimidated or anything when you are entering the assessment process. You should have received your link for the assessment the day prior from the assessor. So it will be in the same format as you've joined this call today. And we always recommend that you maybe test the link beforehand just to make sure that everything's working as it should and your equipment isn't faulty or has any issues. But if you do have any issues on the day of your assessment with joining the call, our assessors are on hand to support you and can talk you through the process if you do feel like you need any additional support. So in terms of completing your assessment, it is completed under exam conditions. So that means that you will need to find like a quiet spot where you won't be disturbed so that exam conditions can be adhered to, whether that's in your home or in your workplace. We do recommend if it is in your workplace that you do get like a separate room and you maybe put a note on the door just to explain that you are in an exam and you aren't to be disturbed during that time. But if you do have any questions around exam conditions, you can always feel free to contact us. And we do advise usually as well that you refrain from having any like personal photos or anything like that in the background if you are in your home. And if you are in the workplace, you just need to ensure that no service users or anyone else is relying on you during that time. Another thing that you will need to have ready for your assessment is a form of photo ID. So you will be required to show this at the beginning of either one or both assessments that you are completing with us. So that can be in the form of your driving license, passport, or a work photo ID badge if you have one. If you don't have any photo ID, we do have ways around this. So there's other things that we can do to ensure that your assessment can go ahead smoothly. We just ask that you contact us beforehand, and then we can advise accordingly depending on your situation.
Thanks, Naz.
So for the assessment, obviously it can be nerve-wracking. We understand that. Our assessors also understand that it may be a while since you've done formal assessment in exam conditions, and we want to make sure that it's as relaxed as possible for you. So there's some tips that you can do. So before your assessment, practice what the assessment methods are, whether that be completing mocks such as an SJT or conducting professional discussions, you know, talking to other people that you may not know about your job role, can get you used to that side of things and help you when it comes to that day. Preparing your notes, you know, you are allowed notes for certain assessments like the professional discussion. Ensure your notes are obviously bullet points. They're not there for you to kind of read a scripted answer from, but they are there for you to refer to if you need. So using those wisely can also help. That stops you getting to the point where you think, I know there's something else, but I'm not sure what it is. The assessors will also prompt you during things like your professional discussions as well. So if you do forget or you think you're going off track, the assessors will help you stay on track. They will repeat questions as many times as you need them to during things like professional discussions, and they will support you where they can throughout that assessment. Obviously, getting a good night's sleep always helps, and making sure that you've got everything ready, because that way you're not panicking a couple of minutes before, running around looking for a charger or your ID, things like that. So being prepared is obviously really important, and it can make everything go a lot smoother for yourself on the day. On the actual day, make sure you're in a comfortable spot. You don't want to be somewhere where you're going to get disturbed or distracted by things. So checking your environment is suitable is always a good tip, and it'll help you concentrate and focus on the assessment that you're doing. As I say, have your ID to hand, then that's not something you're worrying about. Testing the link, like Nia said earlier, so that your computer's working, checking things like your speakers are working, your camera's working, that sort of thing. It makes less stress if these things happen. But if they do, the assessors will support you with that. They do this all the time. They have dealt with most technical issues and things that can arise, and will advise you with that. Obviously, make sure you've got yourself a drink, especially if you're doing a professional discussion or presentation or something like that, talking, you probably do need a drink during it, and you're more than welcome to have that sort of thing with you. And then obviously also believe in yourself. You've done your course. You've been working with your training provider throughout your apprenticeship. The endpoint assessment is testing and going through what you already know, and you do your job role day in, day out. You know all of this, and it's just getting that out of you. And as I say, the assessors will support you with that as much as they can. And as Nia said, they will contact you beforehand. They will do a pre-call to introduce themselves. They're not scary people, they have been there themselves. They know what it's like, and they are there for you throughout the assessment. So if you do have questions, do ask them. They've probably been asked most questions before, and they will guide you in the right direction. Thank you, Alex. So a couple of tips to maximise your grade. One of the things we get asked quite a lot is around grades and how to achieve the highest grade possible. So one of the main things, as we touched on before, is using that assessment plan, which shows the criteria, obviously, that you're going to get assessed against. And the first words in the assessment plan for each criteria are what we call command words. So they tell you what you need to do, whether that's explain, evaluate, compare, describe. Knowing the difference between those and what is required to meet those command verbs can make a big difference between the level of the grade that you're going to get for each criteria.
So when you're answering questions in your professional discussions, it's really important that you can provide detailed answers and provide examples from when you've actually carried out these tasks and skills within the workplace. because what we want is the more information you can give to the assessor, you're showcasing your knowledge and skills and your behaviours. So, you know, you're aiming to get, you know, a higher grade overall for those KSBs. So we always say, please try to use realistic examples and give as much detail in your answers to your assessors.
Showing depth within your answers is also important. So like Linda says, you're giving the examples, but then link them to the legislation that you know that they cover, link them to the policies and procedures in your workplace. So although you're going to tell us what you do and how you do it, think about the why you also do these things. And that will obviously then generate more evidence towards each KSB that you'll be assessed upon.
Demonstrate comprehensive knowledge within your answers. So where possible, you know, try to relate to things like pieces of legislation that you can, you know, offer. If you're doing level 4 and 5 endpoint assessments, you know, try to include things like CQC regulations, your fundamental standards, your key lines of inquiries. We don't ask you to give regulation numbers, but try to include those to give more depth to, and, you know, and more strength to your answers.
Also referencing the responsibilities of your role. So when you are talking about what you do, think about the level of the qualification you are completing. So obviously, if it's a lead adult care worker qualification, we expect the answers that you're giving or what you're discussing to be relevant to that role. So keep that in the back of your mind when obviously you are talking about the different things that you do. And there is a lot of things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And it's pulling out those main parts within there to meet those KSBs.
And also drawing on your professional background, you know, with confidence within your assessments, you know, show examples of where you've actually, you know, took part in specific tasks, how you've showcased that, you know, where you've mentored, you know, your team, things like that. You know, the more you can provide, you know, the more depth that's going to give, because the assessor only sees you for that snapshot of your assessment, and they have to take what you give within the assessment. So, and also remember, they don't know you, so, you know, it's about you giving, you know, as much detail as you can within your answers.
Obviously, each assessment that you undertake has a time period to conduct that assessment. In the assessment plan, it states exactly how long each assessment method is. Make sure you know that and use that time effectively. So if you're completing a situational judgment test, you know, you get 90 minutes to complete that for level 2 and level 3. If you are finishing with before that time, use the time to look through answers if you want to, you know, go back to certain questions if you want to reread them. And also the same with the PDs, and also when you're doing the post-observation questioning at the higher, at level 5, use the time that's allocated. You know, if there's anything you want to add once the assessors have gone through discussion points, then, you know, use that time effectively to add that. You never know, you might just mention something that you've not covered and therefore get more grades within there.
We'd also strongly recommend that you do undertake mock assessments with your training providers. You know, this includes mock situational judgment tests if you're doing level 2 or 3s, like Elaine said, or if you're doing the level 4 or 5s. You know, really spend the time, plan those out with your training providers. If they don't get offered to you, please ask for them. You know, please say to your training provider, can I do a mock observation? Can I do a mock professional discussion? So that I feel more prepared. Also, you know, refer to the assessment plan for the standard that you're doing. I strongly recommend that you do have a copy of that. You look at each assessment method and look at the knowledge, skills, behaviours that you're going to get assessed against those. If you're not familiar with any of those, ask your training provider to give you guidance. If you're still unsure, when our assessors do the pre-course with you, have a chat to them. they're so approachable, and they want you to ace your EPA, and they really do, you know, want to give you that support. You know, that they're so hands-on. You know, please don't come into your assessments have questions that you're unsure about anything. You know, contact your training provider or reach out to our assessors when they do your pre-calls. Thanks, guys.
I was just going to add on to that as well, just with the mock assessments. We've also encouraged training providers to maybe utilise different assessors than your normal assessors do the mocks with as well, so that gives you a bit more insight into doing it with the stranger, essentially, because that sometimes can be the issue, that when you come to EPA is that it is with an assessor that you don't know, and that can be quite daunting sometimes. So if you are speaking to a training provider around mock assessments, encourage that you maybe have those mocks with different people from your training provider, and again, really utilise the practice of the timings around that as well when you're doing those mocks. Thanks, Alex. We do really encourage feedback as well. So at the end of your endpoint assessment, you will be sent a survey, an opportunity to complete a survey and give us some feedback. Now that feedback is around the full experience, so the resources that were provided to you, how you found the assessors, how you found the assessments themselves, and we really welcome that feedback, and we monitor that, and we look at any actions that we need to take away from that. So we encourage you to give us as much, you know, constructive feedback or praise, which would be lovely, as you're happy to do. So we just included some feedback here that we've got from one of our previous learners. And I think it kind of covers everything we've mentioned, but try not to worry. She said, I know that's easier said than done. The biggest thing for her was the assessor saying that they're not there to catch you out. You know, all of our assessors have come from this sector. They've worked in health and social care, or still do, and they've all done qualifications. So they really do understand where you're coming from. And like Linda said, they're there to help you pass. Just go for it. We're all there to help you. There's always support. Just ask if you are ever unsure. You're not alone. So yeah, we're always on hand, whether it be your training provider or one of us. Do please get in touch. So I know you may have some questions, but we've just put some frequently asked questions together just to hopefully cover some of the points that you may have. So will I get my results on the same day? I don't know, Nia, whether you want to go in a bit more detail, but with our situational judgment test results, they will go to your training provider pretty much within the 24-hour window. Thereafter, we do have certain timeframes. Nia, do you want to run through those?
Yeah, so for any level 2 and 3 qualifications, we have a 5 working day turnaround on any results. And then for the level 4 and 5 qualifications, we have a 10 working day turnaround. So as Helen mentioned, the situational judgment test results do usually go within the 24-hour time frame, but immediately at the end of the test, it will let you know whether you have passed or failed, and then we'll follow up with your training provider with a detailed breakdown of the grade. And then, yeah, we send all results to your training provider, who will then be in touch with you to obviously let you know what you've achieved and then share any feedback that we would have given them as well.
And all of the assessors would give some feedback, and that is pretty detailed feedback. So they will share that with you. If you haven't received it, please do ask, and they can go over that with you, so that you're fully aware of kind of, you know, where you did well and maybe areas that you didn't do so well in, just so you know moving forward. How long do I have to wait to get my certificate? So once you finish all assessments and all grades have been issued, you will have an overall grade. What then happens is we do allow a 10 working day period. Now that is, should you wish to appeal your grade for any reason, we have to allow that period of time. Once that 10 working days has passed, your certificate will be issued. Leading on to that, where will my certificate go? So when we first start working with a training provider, we always ask for the preference of where they need certificates to go. Now, majority of the time that will go to your employers, but we do have the ability for that go to training providers, and sometimes even directly to yourself. So it will just depend on the agreement that we have in place with the training provider, but they'll be able to make you aware of that. What happens if I don't pass first time? So across all of our standards, you do have an opportunity to resit your assessments. And as we said, we do give feedback upon that first assessment being completed. I encourage you to really take the time to absorb that feedback, to speak to your training provider, take as much time as you need. We do have set time frames to resit within, but we can identify those with you. But we want you to feel ready to take the resit. So just make sure that you're doing some extra work with your training provider. You've taken the feedback on board, and they've obviously done some work with you around that. And then what will happen is we will make contact with you once we've been confirmed by your training provider and yourself that you feel confident, and we will get you rebooked for your resit. And then thereafter, the kind of results timeframes will run the same again. Nia, was there anything you wanted to add to that at all?
No, I think that was pretty much it. Covered it.
And what should I do if I need to cancel or reschedule? So if you could just let us know as soon as possible, and that will be directly into Nia. We ideally aim to kind of make sure that all assessments go ahead as planned, but we do understand that work challenges come along, life challenges come along. But if you could just let us know as soon as possible, and if you're able to, at the time of cancelling, give us next suitable dates, then we'll aim to get your assessments rebooked straight away so that you've got those planned, and then you know you can be prepping for those coming up. And in addition, I'm sure as a lot of you are aware that we are an endpoint assessment organisation. We also do have our own learning platform as FuturU. So I really just wanted to share this with you guys. There's a huge amount of content on there. So we've got sort of over 100+ courses, and it's free at the point of access for all of you. So I know Alex has put some details there, but I think from working in this sector, this is a great opportunity to just have some additional learning. Please feel free to share with your employers or your training providers if it's something that they would be interested in as well. From an employer perspective, it's an opportunity to manage their internal staff training. But for you guys, it's an opportunity to just do additional learning. So there's everything on there from this sector. There's also wellbeing courses on there. We've really geared it up to make sure that everybody working within the health and social care sector have really an opportunity to develop their knowledge and skills. The links are all there. I think you've just popped something in the chat, Alex, as well, haven't you? So yes, please do have a look. There's some great content on there, very much story-led. So we welcome any feedback, but feel free to share with your colleagues, employers, training providers, etc. as well. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Helen, Nia, Elaine and Linda. Yes, as Helen just mentioned, I've put plenty of links into the chat, but as I said at the start, if you want to refer back to anything or miss anything, I'll be sending an email out with all of the links included later. So yeah, if anybody does have any questions, you are very welcome to pop them in the chat as a message, or you can also raise your hand if you prefer, and then I'll invite you to come off mute. Whilst you're all thinking of your questions, just one final note from me. So as I mentioned, I'll be sending that email out with links. There will also be a little request for feedback on the session today in that email, and I really, really appreciate it if you could take the time to select an emoji that best represents your experience of today and then share your feedback with us. It's really, really helpful. We run these sessions kind of around quarterly, and we just want to make them as useful for you as we possibly can. So any feedback that you give really helps us to make these sessions better and better every time. Cool. So yeah, don't be shy. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to raise your hand or add them into the chat. Maybe you answered all the questions today. Very efficient.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Yes, Abiola speaking.
Hello.
Thank you for the information. So I want to ask a particular question that you said there are some free courses that one can take that's available on FuturU on your website. So those courses, are this do they have certificates at the end of the completion of the courses?
So all of the courses on FuturU, we have over 100 courses on a wide range of topics relating to health and social care. They're all absolutely free to take. The majority of them are CPD accredited, and they're all skills for health aligned. When you enroll and complete a course on FuturU, you will automatically get a certificate that you can download and you can share with your employer as evidence of the steps you're taking towards your professional development. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Secondly, each of those questions, each of those courses, like what's the likely duration and the hours involved?
So it depends entirely. So some of the courses are as little as half an hour to complete. Some of them take a few hours. What you can do with them is they're super flexible. You can complete them on your mobile phone, so you can dip in and out. So if you've only got half an hour spare and the course is 2 hours long, you can spend half an hour, you can go away, and then you can come back to it later.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We have a question from Maddie. Maddie is an assessor, and she's asking if she can send the recording out to her learners.
Yes. Yep. I mean, this will be made available anyway, Maddie. So Alex will be sharing this. But yeah, once received, we're happy for this to be passed on. And if it's learners that are still quite a way out of their EPA, they are more than welcome to join the next session that we'll run next quarter as well.
Yeah, I will add a recording, the link to the recording to the email that I share. I actually forgot to hit record at the start of the session, so I might need to do a little bit of editing to make it work for those people that weren't able to attend today, but I'll make sure that the recording gets across to you guys.
I think there was a question from Colette. Alex, was that?
Colette, yes. I have a question about the FuturU training. Is this free for my whole organisation?
So it's obviously, Alex, if you want to jump in as well. So it is free for the users. However, Colette, if it is something that you wanted to use as a kind of management tool for your organisation, i.e. assign mandatory training, monitor trainings getting completed, etc., then we do look at that as a kind of a package that we would offer to yourselves. So we can pick up that separately if that's something that you would be interested in. For any of your learners, just to access your staff to access the training, absolutely free. But yeah, from a kind of administrative, organizational perspective, yeah, we can pick up with you separately and go over how that works.
Colette, I've made a note of your name, so what I'll do is I'll get the team to get in touch with you. We actually have an offer running at the moment for our September campaign, which is you can enroll 2 learners for the price of 1. So we'll send you all the details of that as well. Abiola, I think you've got another question. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Concerning this EPA assessment exam, so what are the grades, scores that one could get, like a hand in distinction, merit, or pass?
Yes. So it varies depending on the standard that you're doing. So for our level 2 and level 3, there's the opportunity to be awarded a pass, a merit, or a distinction. Elaine, Linda, please feel free to jump in if I get this wrong. And then for the higher levels, the level 4 and level 5, it's a pass or a distinction. There's no merit in between.
Okay.
And I would say, Abiola, leading on from what we were saying, that's why it's crucial to really review the assessment plan, because within that is the criteria that is required to essentially meet those particular grades.
Okay. For example, just for yes, I'm aware of those that you have said, but for example, let's say the question is like 100 and over 100, maybe it's 100 points, and the learner is able to score like 70 over 100 or 60 over 100. What category would that fall into?
So the only assessment method that is actually scored in that way is the situational judgment test. There's 60 questions within the situational judgment test. You need 40 to pass the situational judgment test. You need over 50 to get a merit and over 55 to get a distinction. For the other assessment methods, it's assessed by the assessor who does the assessment on the day, and they grade each assessment point individually, and that they're all weighted evenly.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
That looks like that's all of our questions, unless anybody has any final things they'd like to ask. Okay, if not, we will leave it there. And as I said, keep an eye out for an email from us later on today with links, requests for feedback, and the recording. And yeah, all that's left to say is thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. Huge amount of luck from me with your upcoming assessments. And I'll just hand back to the EPA team for any final thoughts.
Thanks, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining. We've really enjoyed doing these sessions, and it's something that we look forward to every quarter. And we do monitor how effective they are as well. And like Alex said, please do give us feedback. So if there are things that you wish you had heard today differently, we will plan those moving forward. But we wish you all the best of luck. We're all on hand for any questions that you have. And the assessors are lovely, so you know they're there to support you. So good luck with everything.
Brilliant.